Welcome, Ron, to the Leaders Who Care series, and it's great to have you here.
Thanks, Mark. Great to be here with you.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun too, and maybe create some moments or and stuff like that. And um, first of all, shout out to Jake Rochon and everybody for getting us together and meeting each other and becoming, never have enough good friends. So it's good to have you in that arena with us. And I think the best way to start, if you would, and I always have to tell people, don't tell me everything in the introduction because there's nothing left to talk about after that, almost. So if you can briefly introduce yourself, who you are, where you are, a little bit about your family, maybe something you've never told anybody else and you want to reveal it now, that's fine too.
Yeah,
And then we'll get into the business stuff. How's that?
sure. No, sounds great. Yeah, my name's Ron Zamber. I'm the founding partner of Visionary Private Equity Group and founding partner of the Visionary Media Group, and an eye surgeon who can't get enough of doing humanitarian work. So deeply committed to that. I would say addicted, sort of obsessed with just having that opportunity to kind of share the blessings. And grew up in Alaska, which was a pretty amazing upbringing, actually. So summers, you can imagine, filled with wild river fishing trips, etc., and a lot of adventure and a lot of mishap and a lot of a lot of lessons learned along the way, which to this day continue to be pretty valuable. And had an amazing mom. She was a huge humanitarian heart, so she always had projects for the family. She was able to track down every charitable or volunteer opportunity that landed in Anchorage, and had us doing cartwheels to be part of it. So that was just really meaningful, really important, and really set the stage early. Mm-hmm. And really, I think one of the huge blessings was she introduced me to an opportunity to volunteer at the Alaska Native Medical Center, and it really interesting environment in Anchorage. People don't realize just the diversity of what it's like to grow up in an area where we had wonderful people, the Alaska Natives, who were part of our life every day. Wonderful, beautiful, just lovely people, and just across all walks of life. I mean, it was an incredibly diverse upbringing, and very important because that's a big part of our world now. And so with that introduction, I had a chance to meet my first really great mentor in life, and just can't say enough about this individual, Dr. Tom Nicewander. So I haven't talked to Tom about any of this in a while, but we've been connected for close to 50 years. And Tom was he started out in the Peace Corps and then wound up with as a pediatrician, and then he and his wife were chiefly responsible for founding Malawi Children's Village in Mangochi, Malawi. So, I was 14 years old at the time, and Tom would tell me these amazing stories. And I mean, I was just so perfectly impressionable, right? Where it's like you have no idea the struggles and the gauntlet that it takes to accomplish this stuff. But he just filled my heart up with, just amazing things. And then I'll never forget, man, one night in the emergency room, it was really late, and he started talking to me about a terrible injury had come in. A patient had a very, very serious eye injury, and he started telling me about a friend of his who was an ophthalmologist who flew around the world and did cataract surgery and restored vision to these poor patients who had been blind for decades. And I thought, that doesn't seem possible. That can't happen. What is that all about? So he filled me in a little bit more, and I went, sign me up. That lit me up for sure. That was kind of the life pathway at age 14, that I was wonderfully naive enough to just go, okay, yeah, let's go do that, right? So that kind of got the whole program launched.
That's amazing. I do a lot of work with influencers and mentors, and how they impact our journey, along the way. I was going to ask you, what did you do as a kid? Were you into music? Were you into reading stories? Were you into volunteering? but I guess that's what you were into, being impressionable.
Totally, man. Just that's it. Still the still the superpower, being willing to say, sure, let's figure it out, right? So that's okay. Being I won't say impressionable or naive, but I will say open to the possibilities, right? I mean, it's still part of the process to this day.
I'm from Canada, and we always say that Alaska should have been ours.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I mean, we always considered ourselves, just the western edge of the great, Canadian experience, right? So definitely through hockey. That's really funny because I mean, we were so close and connected. We would make hockey trips up to Whitehorse and Yellowknife,
Yeah.
and just in fact, the one of the truly most happiest moments of my life, man, was being in Montreal at the Forum. I was on a yeah, there you go, buddy. Shout out for for the Canadians. But yeah, being in Montreal with I was on a travel team, a whatever elite team, and being there right after the 76 Olympics too. And it was just like, like bucket list or magical moment happening at a young age. So love, yeah, definite love kinship with our Canadian friends. Although they routinely crushed us on the ice, and then helped us after. So I got a truly very funny story if you have 2 seconds. So
Yeah,
my wife
of
and I
course.
got to go to the Olympics in Vancouver, and had a friend who pulled tickets to the hockey game, right? And you probably don't remember this, but I'll never forget this: that the U.S. team beat the Canadian team in the first match.
Believe me, we
And
remember
I
that
had,
stuff.
you remember that? Yeah, I would hope you would remember that. We had these great seats, and my wife had bought me this 8 foot American flag. Being the shy and reserved guy I am, of course, I was flapping that flag around all game long, and you can just imagine the love that was coming at me from around. There were some pretty colorful adjectives thrown in front of flagman sit down, right? There was a whole bunch of other things that came my way, but really amazing, because in the middle of all that, it's like, yeah, but the love for the game, was so intense. It just was really pretty fun and cool. And then of course we got the beat down from Sidney Crosby and the folks in the gold medal game. But yeah, pretty fun moment to kind of pull it all together.
And Roberto Luongo in nets, also for that Canadian team. But it's actually helped hockey incredibly expand in the U.S. and it's there's two great moments I remember where Canada, this is way back, 72, Canada was playing the Soviet Union in an 8-game series. And that went down to the wire because no one knew how good they were. And then obviously Miracle on Ice, which was the U.S.,
Yeah. Oh
big
yeah.
thing. And so a lot of good
Big
times.
thing.
And then there's Mystery Alaska, the movie.
Exactly.
So tell us about the first part of your journey. I mean, you started with Notre Dame, went on to Washington Medical School. It sounds like I think I almost know why you chose to be a certified ophthalmologist and whatnot because of your story, but you didn't just get excited about it and then say, oh, never mind. You kept going, right?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of twists and turns along the way, including Notre Dame. I had looked at some East Coast schools. I'm small and I'm slow, right? So I make up for my small size by my slow skating. So I never even imagined, Notre Dame was just way out past my pay grade. But I got recruited by Rick Schaefer and Lefty Smith, and you know,
Wow.
it, the legend of Notre Dame kind of pulled me that direction, and it was like, if you're willing to come and earn a spot, we're willing to let you come and earn a spot. It wasn't any sort of blue chip moment at all, but it was that kind of challenge that I'm just built for, right? So I said, yeah, let's give it a go. And of course that turned out to be a beat down, because too small, too slow, not a good combination. A lot of injuries along the way, but definitely just I laugh that it was tough. In fact, Lefty Smith met my wife years later. When I I got the Harvey Foster Award, and he laid it on pretty heavy. He's like, yeah, I don't even know how that guy hung around. You know, he was a huge pain in the butt, but we needed his grade point average to keep the team grade point average up. I'm like, okay, that tells me a lot. That explains a lot. But no, it was not a, I definitely took a beat down, and it was rough, but a great education. I mean, in terms of humility and truly just perseverance, man. I mean, grit and perseverance. I think back on it a lot, and so that was important. And then obviously very good pre-med education and an introduction to the ethos, the Notre Dame ethos: do good while doing well. I mean, that was an immersion, man, for sure. And then went to University of Washington. It was great. Went there for medical school and residency, and then moved back to Alaska. And my wife was my superstar partner. She was ran the practice and was a director of our foundation, and put together these trips, these surgical trips that we did. A huge lift. I mean, we would have to put together all of the supplies and equipment, and we obviously paid for everything, but it was just a really daunting task. She would have to get in touch with the minister of health in these various countries, and then find a host who could keep us safe, because I mean, no question, a lot of danger, a lot of threats along the way, and we just had to be smart and careful and navigate through that. And she was critical in that regard. So we sort of got to the privilege of living the dream, where we were able to go to a lot of places no one else would go to. And we got very nimble and very smart and efficient about how we were able to get the gear and the supplies and everything where we needed to get it, and then to be able to put up surgical suites in closets, in tents, etc. I mean, we just got extremely innovative in that overall approach. And so we were able to do thousands and thousands of surgeries in some pretty wild places, and really kind of have that dream come true. And as I mentioned, most of these patients have no access, so they've been blind from cataracts for 20 or 30 years. So it's it's a pretty magnificent privilege to be part of that.
Not to mention, when you see what they end up becoming, what they end up doing, what they end up impacting. Sometimes you see it, a lot of times you don't. But it's out there. It's kind of like teachers that who don't see what the kids do. And you said something really important. Like, we were founded, Fifth Element. We were founded on the basis that leaders and their business can do way better when they are doing good, as you were saying. And so understanding the connection to the humanitarian, medical, and surgery missions, which are incredible. Where did the vision, get that, the vision, just throw that in there, come to build water treatment facilities and also supporting food delivery to hungry communities?
Yeah, it's great question, and super important part of what we experienced along the way. I mean, as amazing as the surgical stuff was, it was very hard to scale, right? I mean, you can only two people, or we'd have typically we'd bring a couple other people with us, but there's only so many hours in the day to do so many surgeries. And so, as wonderful as it was, we would always leave feeling like we got to do more. There's more to do. There's so many opportunities. And my wife's background is in clinical psychology and child development, so of course we always got involved with the orphanages and the children's facilities and organizations in those areas. And we would take a deep dive into what their needs were and help them out, whether it was mosquito nets or educational material or whatever. We always just jumped right in. But virtually every single time, I can't think of an exception, actually, every single time there was need for better access to water and continued access to food. If you can get water and food into these communities or into these organizations, then you can get the kids there. An example is, it was with Fabretto's Children Foundation in Nicaragua. Without the food, very hard to attract the kids, to get them there. But with water and food, the kids could come for education, and you could really get the whole process rolling. So we quickly figured that out. By the second trip, we were on, okay, there's a lot more to do here, where we can have this long tail effect that can be multi-generational long tail effects. So the surgeries, the first piece of it, but it's, it certainly, became actually a much, much smaller component to our goals and objectives. And then there were things that happened along the way that just furthered that, just amazing introductions and opportunities to really scale that out, right? The issue, speaking about Jake, I mean, we've talked about it. The issue is scaling good, right? I mean, doing good is wonderful. Figuring out how to scale good is sometimes more challenging. But that really became the essence of why we got into the food and water side of it. So we would find the right partners and with the right global, with the right experience, expertise, and global reach, and get them involved.
No, super smart. And I mean, those are the two main staples of everything: water and food, and next, the next to air. And you talk about getting great partners. We specifically work with and represent our clients as leaders who care, basically. And a lot of times they realize they need to care about their talent to be able to attract diverse talent, to be able to, and that doesn't mean just, what color skin and gender and whatnot. It means what kind of expertise they're bringing to the table, etc., as partners. So I've noticed you've been on boards in diverse industries, not just related to, even just healthcare, but and many not related to healthcare at all. Can you describe, if you will, why and how your experiences and some of the creative ideas and strategies that you made happen and successful, worked out good for those boards?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. And, our sort of foundational driver in the things we do is about, helping create access, right? That concept of whether it's access to surgery or access to water, access to food, and then, access for individuals who otherwise may not have had access to opportunity to become the best version of themselves, right? I mean, if I was to sort of speak to what we're all about now, it's about helping people who otherwise haven't had access, get a chance to have that access to elevate their life, their family, their world, their community. And so those same general skills that apply to a busy surgical practice or humanitarian surgical missions, and venture, there's a lot of similarities in those skills. And I think that the most important one is having a good eye for finding great teammates, right? I mean, I grew up as a team guy playing hockey, and I'm just super laser focused on finding great teammates. And that guys like Jake, guys like Ed, guys like you, I mean, women, we have a incredible team of advisors that we're very, very particular about making sure we have women who can really help us elevate that that reach and that understanding. And so Karen Carponi obviously comes to mind, but we have a whole host of incredible women as part of our team, and across all backgrounds, across all ethnicities. And that's important to me because they help educate all of us along the way, right? We all, we're very good at knowing what we don't know. I mean, I think that's one of our, at Visionary, that's one of our true strengths, is we know what we don't know, and we bring in the best to supplement, and it just works out every time. We're just not guessing, we're bringing in the very best people. So that eye for for great teammates is super, super important, with the same goals and ambitions and objectives and work ethic. And that really works out. And then we're very process driven as a surgeon, and just kind of thinking about the chaos of hockey. I love the fact that you're a hockey guy, right? So the chaos of hockey, where you've actually got to you've got to line out the the successful process that allows you to excel in that chaotic environment. And thinking about that in surgery, and it's process driven, right? I mean, it's about having a process that's well defined, that's that everybody shares in, but that also is nimble, right? So it's got to be careful and diligent, etc. But it's also got to be nimble, because everything, every day is full of surprises, and you got to figure out how to turn those surprises into positive pivots, right? I mean, and lots of examples of that. Woke up expecting one pathway and wound up on a different one that that maybe turned out to be better than anything we had imagined. And so, and I think,
Mm,
the third thing for us is that culture, right? That culture
yeah.
of helping people become the best version of themselves. And that's, we're just deeply committed to that.
And that's in sports too. Like you talked about before. You have to, if you have all stars, chances are you probably most of the time won't win the championship. You need a whole team that's gonna be able to do that. It gives me a good segue to your visionary media group and PE group. Um, one of my favorite quotes is from Maya Angelou, where she talks about, she says, most people forget what you said, most people forget what you've done, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And it's a brilliant quote. And so if you could share about, your group's vision and mission, you're doing a lot of exciting work, and the connection from the value of storytelling in both business and life, that you can make an economic and social impact at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that quote. That's amazing. There's a similar quote that is, the true measure of character is how you treat people when no one's watching, right? I think that along those lines of just be true to, true to that concept of generosity and compassion, and it pays off. It may not
Yes.
be evident immediately, but long term, you just get to associate with the very best people when you stick to that. And I think that's it's really important when we talk about the Visionary Private Equity Group, because we've been extremely committed from day one to that concept of a positive double bottom line. We are always going to make sure we're out there, doing good while doing well, but optimizing that positive impact and optimizing return for our investors. And those are not at all mutually exclusive. In fact, to your point, we had said earlier, we're so successful because of the network effect of really great people who are like-minded, who come in and help. It sort of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? They help create that incredibly great outcome. And I got a really cool example of that for you,
Mhm.
thinking about how we leverage that. And so, two things to note about Visionary Private Equity. First of all, the general partners have to pledge half of their general partner profit interest from day one. So it's the best filter in the world. It was probably the smartest thing I've ever done, right? Because I have the most generous, hardest working partners on the planet. So it turned out even better than I had expected. And it makes us work harder. We just work hard, right? And we work for goodness. And that combo is really important. And then we obviously are picking sourcing portfolio companies that are about changing the world in a positive way. So we're really getting that dual effect again of the portfolio. At the portfolio level, we're making a difference, and then at the GP level, we're doubling down and putting our money where our mouth is. And it really, really does create asymmetric positive returns in all regards. And then to be able to scale that, again, kind of back to what we were talking about earlier, your questions are wonderful, Mark, because we're coming back to these principles that are so important. And that concept of scaling good is just difficult to do without a media sort of component, right? And so we figured that out very early. I didn't have any media background. I had a little bit of a funny music video background, which might be worth talking about for a second.
Yeah.
Probably worth talking about, sure, for just a second.
Sure.
Our son came to us as we were packing up for one of our surgical missions when he'd finished up his first year of pre-med. He's super, just genius kid, just amazing. And he was really emotional. And he's like, "Mom, Dad, I just got to tell you something. And we have no idea what's coming. He's a college kid. We have no idea what's next. Anything you can imagine." And he says, "I don't want to go into medicine." And it was like, "Oh, thank God, that's all we're talking about here." Who knew, right? So we're like, "See, Riley, that's awesome. That's amazing. That's okay. What is it that you're going to do?" And he said, I want to go into music. And I said, "You're a brilliant musician. That's an amazing thing to think about. And so what are you going to do as a career, right? Because that's a really tough path. I don't know if you know how tough a path that is." He goes, "No, I think we can figure it out." So we actually sat down and kind of figured it out, where this is early YouTube days. And so we were able to put together a music video company. And he and his partner were just sort of organically brilliant about everything they did, and wound up doing amazing music videos. I mean, I think collectively we wound up with about 4 billion views across our, and there's a lot of names, Pentatonics and Lindsey Sterling and John Legend and Kenny Rogers. I'm just amazing connections, right? And it all came through. And we literally had no background in that space, but they just were clever, smart, nimble, and some of the biggest music videos ever been produced. They produced for next to nothing, and just because they're such lovable people. And so anyway, that was a super interesting introduction to the media space, where I quickly understood the reach of platform, right? I mean, that was my education in. I had a med tech background, but certainly not a media tech background. But that really opened my eyes up to, okay, you can really scale good when you can create platform reach, right? I mean, that was the epiphany, the moment for me. And so when we put the media group together, we decided, we just met this incredible team and put together this team in Nashville, and just really realized, by creating important and meaningful content and having those distribution arms, you're able to make doing good cool, and and scale that doing good. And so that very much was driven around that ethos, to your point. And of course, then we realized we really need to bring social media into the equation. And so we've been building out a pretty important social media platform that really is the intersection of, of just call it social impact challenges and brilliant content to highlight those challenges, and then connecting to the communities and the change agents that help solve those problems. And so it really is a full media engine built around that. And I think I wanted to give you a kind of an interesting example is what we're doing with Playing for Change right now. There's a little amazing 7-year-old Ukrainian girl named Amelia Anisevich.
Right.
And yeah, just a vocal virtuoso, amazing little superstar. And we brought her to Nashville, and we're collaborating now with our visionary media artists, with One the Duo and Cody Blue and Clayton Anderson and Lee Nash, and then also with the Fisk Jubilee Singers from Nashville, and with the Playing for Change team, who you know very well. And we have this amazing song that speaks to to highlighting and eradicating injustice. And this is an opportunity to bring in the globally those creators who want to be part of that, that type of opportunity. So it really kind of speaks to, we have a a very good game plan, and then we find the right people to go execute on the game plan, and the right partners. And so it really is pretty exciting.
And you didn't have any expertise at all, like real, yeah. I once interviewed a candidate. I won't go too long on this, so we don't go too long here. But for a position, and he said, I don't really have a lot of experience. I'm shortening the story, and I was looking at his resume, and it said on the very bottom he did a Santa Claus parade. And most people would notice. I noticed it because when I lived in Winnipeg, I was the first Jewish guy to run the Santa Claus parade. and
Nice.
and I was involved in the community, and so I just asked him questions casually, like, "Yeah, what about the Santa Claus parade? That must have been fun. What'd you have to do?" And he said, "I had to speak to the city. I had to get budget. I had to raise money. I had to argue with the people and their floats. Who's going to go first? Who's going to go second? I had to worry about if it snowed or rained or there was a storm." I said, "Yeah, you don't have any experience. You're right."
Yeah, just an operator on everything, including the weather. Exactly right.
so,
Well, it
so
is. It's super important, because that's, to your exact point. It's a very good point. It's about understanding what is transferable from, from vertical to vertical, from sector to sector, from opportunity to opportunity. So most of what you learn along the way is truly transferable. You may have to modify it, but it's important to understand that, that learning process really, really never ends.
No, it doesn't. The key points you raised is you know what you don't know, and you know how to get the great people to take over what you don't know, and then the team
Exactly.
wins the championship. Hey, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, we're excited about. We're having discussions about partnering on initiatives like Street Child for digital identities, and 100 billion meals, and really making an impact in the world, and hungry, a lot of kids hungry out there too. We both focus on what's SDG 17, which is partnerships. That's what we're talking about. So I may have given away the answer, but some would ask you, how do you have the continued passion and able to do all you do?
It really just is about what I what I derive true joy out of. And it's it's not altruism so much as every day matters, right? I mean, it's really from my standpoint, I'm a very much a deliverables. I'm deliverable oriented, right? And whether it's skating crushers at the end of practice, I always wanted to get across that line first, or
Yeah,
you
man.
know, or yeah, exactly, man. And or or doing that a 50th surgery for the day. Or I remember being in Nepal with Dr. Ruit, and we decided we were going to try to set some record there, and we decided between the two of us we could do 100 surgeries that day, and they were going to all turn out great, and etc. So I'm just very very just outcome oriented, and I know I truly know how to keep score in a way that matters to the visionary team, and that is how many lives are we going to impact in a positive way every single day. How many lives can we save through food and water projects? I mean, that's literally kind of the way we keep score. So it is exciting to get up every morning, and literally, Mark, with the team we have, and the partnerships with Fifth Element and Playing for Change and other groups. I mean, there's just endless. It's endless excitement. It's endless get up and can't wait for the next wonderful thing that's going to happen. And that's really not an overstatement. I mean, our whole team's built that way. And, it just really keeps us very driven and very excited about learning. Everybody we bring onto the team has that same mindset about every day is this incredible opportunity for more, to do more good and to learn more, right? To get educated by the brilliant people around us.
That's definitely true. And a word I use a lot before I ask you the last question here is we do a lot of searches for startups and growing companies and putting people in there, and you have to be able to thrive on it, otherwise you'll get burnt out. And you have to be able to thrive on the changes, the moving, the obstacles, the problems that happen, and then you say, oh damn, we got a problem, okay, now we got to figure it out. But thrive on all that, and then it becomes, what's that expression? You'll never work a day in your life if you love what you do.
No,
Um,
100%. Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's great. So last question, because I know this is something we say in LA. We got to leave them wanting more, but that way we can do a sequel. So um, a client told me in 2021. The client mentioned to me, he said, the year 2020, it was the year that flew by slowly, and I thought, what a great expression. And then 21 and 22 literally did zoom by, actually.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
can you share with us what you were most, with all that, what you're most grateful for, and also what you're most hopeful for?
Yeah, that's great. Pretty easy from the most grateful standpoint. Obviously, amazing family, wife and kids and grandkids, and actually have another grandbaby due in a week and a half. So can't speak
Yay.
more joyfully about being grateful for just being blessed with that. And likewise, I think just feel very grateful and blessed for the teammates. I mean, again, it comes down to very hard to accomplish the maximum objectives without great people involved and great partners, like Playing for Change, like Fifth Element. I mean, I'm extremely grateful, and that's all come in the last across these last 2-3 years, and now really sets us up for some pretty exciting opportunities together. And as you had mentioned, everything from the 100 billion meal challenge, which is right in our wheelhouse. I mean, that's a number that might not make sense to other people, but in my mind it's like, yeah, that's about the right number. Let's go get
Yeah.
that figured out. And so I'm excited, enthused, energized, way more than just hopeful. In my mind, hope's not a strategy, but working with people like Mark and Ed and Jake, that's a strategy that really allows that scale. So I'm just I'm thrilled and thankful for these relationships,
We're,
all of them. They're just incredible, and again, they make every day exciting and make every challenge one worth tackling.
life's an adventure, and we're grateful to know you now too, as a new friend, and as a partner for all sorts of cool stuff ahead. And so thank you for being one of the leaders who cares. It's really important. And thank you for sharing this. And I look forward to the sequel.
Absolutely. I look forward to hosting you. Not a big thing for you, but I can't wait to bring Ed to Alaska, and give him a little rough time out on the river somewhere.
Well, last thing really quick, I was talking to this lady from Saskatchewan, and I never really knew what the name Saskatchewan was, but it was a fast flowing river is apparently where the name Saskatchewan came from.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so, yeah, we'll put them out in the backyard with a moose and let's see what happens.
Yeah, it goes. Who knows, right?
Yeah. Hey, thanks a
Exactly.
lot for sharing everything. It's great to have you on the series.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Really appreciate it. And have a wonderful, holiday season and happy new year. And I think hopefully I get to see you in January. I think so.
I think I will be there.